I am going to tell you about the most incredible place. And you know what? You're walking on it.
Welcome to the KEMTAG Hotel. We are proud to introduce our management team. With the General Manager, Channel Distribution Manager, Marketing Manager, Forecast Analytics Manager, Group Reservation Manager, and Facility and Service Manager. For the past year, our management team has been operating the KEMTAG Hotel. The owner paid us a monthly standing charge, a basic fee based on revenue, and an incentive fee based on gross profit. KEMTAG Hotel is a 3 to 4 star hotel opened 8 years ago, which hasn't done any refurbishment since its opening. The hotel has a city center waterfront location and offers services to all segments: business, leisure, tour, contract, large group, and small group. Facilities include 250 guest rooms, 1 restaurant, 1 conference and event space, an exercise room, a small pool and recreation area, 4 free parking ramps, digital national and international telephone service, guest laundry and dry cleaning, guest room, digital entertainment, and room service. Our competitors at the beginning of the year were all at the same level. No one had any competitive advantage in their facilities, footprint, or services. Concerning the market background, market performance has steadily decreased over the past 2 years and the competition from other cities has increased. Both these factors causing the occupancy, ADR, and GOP to erode. Furthermore, there are many obstacles to getting financing for us and our competition. However, developments in the economy, market area, and our hotel encourages us to believe in a promising future for KEMTAG. We have 2 objectives to achieve in order to satisfy the owner's expectations. The first one being that we need to achieve and maintain an above fair market room share and an ADR equal to or higher than the main competitors. Second one is to generate an increase in our annual GOP of 15% and an ROE of 5%. According to historical data for occupancy mix, occupancy rates are higher on weekdays than weekends. Also, historical data for average segment mix on weekdays show that premium and bar standard were the highest percentage of clients. We therefore decided to target business travelers, as they are customers that need premium and standard rooms. There are also customers that have a higher occupancy on weekdays. Other reasons for the choice of this market segment include that business travelers are frequent customers and our location. Business travelers appreciate the convenience of a city center hotel where everything is walking distance. Since business travelers are less price sensitive than other segments, and the price is the only element in the marketing mix that brings revenue to the firm, we have decided to establish a competition-based pricing in order to get better market share. To do that, we are using the benchmarking to evaluate competitors' price and try to predict how they may behave in the next month. Also, we are aware that the price is the foundation of revenue management success.
Looking at our fundamental decisions for the year, we'll be mainly focusing on channel distribution management, marketing investment, RFPs, and analysis and findings of all our departments. Looking at the RFP report regarding the request for proposals, we decided to forecast and strategize before giving a foolproof implementation of the groups. We were only able to pick up 1 group that had a contract with us for 3 months, causing our revenues to peak. This group wanted 2,400 rooms per night, giving us a total room revenue of 249,000 Rand a month. They were a group of elderly people, therefore we gave them a 10% discount. For this period's average, it was not that effective to pick up all the groups since every single one of them was a large group and was not part of our target market. Our focus was more on the transient and small group, and they were less profitable business for us. Therefore, we'll see as recommendations to focus more on large groups or to average out a total revenue that will cause us a higher room revenue. However, after the first quarter, we realized that the competition was doing better in terms of reputation management, and most enlisted all services possible constantly. As a result, we decided to follow the market and what the customers wanted. This definitely improved our reputation management. By the end of the year, we started running out of money to renovate, clean, or invest. We saw our competitors were in the same situation. Thanks to an environmental program, we ended up on a lighter note.
Weekday occupancy was higher than last year's from January to September, which is quarter 1 to quarter 3, and weekend occupancy did better from January to August, which is quarter 1 to halfway of quarter 3. The reason for this drop in occupancy could be due to renovations, better location of channel distribution, and insufficient investment in marketing. Furthermore, even though there was a huge spike in June, that is at 85% occupancy during the weekend and at 76% during the weekday, the overall occupancy for weekday is still much better than the weekend. I would recommend doing renovations in quarter 1 when occupancy was forecasted to be lower than the rest of the quarters, better location in distribution, and higher investment in marketing. Become more relevant. However, during the first quarter, we did not adjust the locations accordingly. This would be the reason why our revenue would drop sharply in quarter 3, which you will be able to see in a bit. As for recommendations, we should have focused more on transient, that includes premium bar and package, and on groups, that includes tour, large and small groups, and should have continued focusing on direct channels as it did the best, even though more allocation was placed on GDS and OTAs, which was 5 to 10% more focus. Firstly, I want to clarify that as a business-oriented hotel, we chose to continue not to give away too much of our premium rooms to wholesalers. We decided to reduce the estimated distribution for wholesalers from 25% for both weekdays and weekend to 10 and 15% respectively from quarter 1 to quarter 2. Firstly, I want to clarify that as a business-oriented hotel, we chose to continue not to give away too much of our premium rooms to wholesalers. We decided to reduce the estimated distribution for wholesalers from 25% for both weekday and weekend to 10 and 15% respectively. We also should have put less emphasis on discounted and more emphasis on transient and groups as our target markets, as to build a stronger relationship between them. Although quarter 2 did slightly better than quarter 1, everything else remained pretty similar. Quarter 3 was the worst due to the wrong decision we made, allowing renovations to be made so late in the year. Looking back to last year, quarter 3 did much better than the 4 quarters, and therefore we should have not started the renovations so late. In quarter 4, we did receive a big tour group on the weekend. However, the weekday still did better than the weekend. Furthermore, quarter 4 did much better than quarter 3, as expected, as renovations should have been finished by then.
Here we can observe a cash flow statement from historical financial data before our revenue management team started to operate. As investors, it is important to look at the cash sales, line of credit, relative operating expenses, and capital loan interest charges. For the book value of property and equipment, we started at $35 million before starting the simulation. On this slide, we can observe the current financial data at the end of the simulation. Cash sales were injected thanks to a steady occupancy and RevPAR throughout the year. Property taxes and management fees increased, as did our cash balance at the end. This is a year-to-date revision of all business performance summary of our activities. Our RevPAR stayed constant at $120 and occupancy fluctuated between high 60s and 80s. We highlight that our return on equity, which is 4.91, is positive, although it did not achieve the 5% goal we had initially set, and the GOP increased by 38.26%, which fulfills the goal as it was an increase of 15%. Something we shall improve on for the next year is the percentage of total occupancy and the percentage of gross operating profit, since we are aiming to stimulate demand and increase the profitability of the hotel. Our net profit is not as high as we expected due to pricing mistakes and underestimation of our target audience. The variance plays an important role in the forecasting, to analyze to which extent the prediction was off the reality. But here we have split the data into actual versus forecast to show the variance within, and the extent to which our predictions were accurate. Focusing on July Q3, this was our biggest letdown forecast-wise. This is probably due to the fact that we are a business hotel, and July is the time where people take their holidays, and no meetings occurred. This gap indicates the 34.5% variance that was taken into consideration for future months. Sadly, Q4 suffered the consequences of bad forecasting from an ineffective and inefficient point of view. For the future, we we would recommend to keep the variance at 15% and to study the prices of competition more closely so the benchmarking would be more effective and we can keep up with the other competing firms in the region. In comparison with the whole market, we averaged around 12% on all quarters. We targeted weekdays since we are a business 3-star hotel. A greater share was sold in Q2 and Q4, although fair share was higher during the weekends versus weekdays, disproportional to the occupancy percentage. Overall, the market, we can assume less people are going to the hotel over the weekend. Our hotels should keep the proportions close to the values of Q4 or exceed them, obviously. This could be resolved through channel distribution or discounting weekends in order to boost reservations. To continue, we would like to outline the pattern of market indexes. The baseline in this case represents the external comp set value. As we can see from the ADR index, we have not reached an ADR equal to or superior to our competition. For the most part, the occupancy index is above the baseline, except for the tragic decline in Q3 summer months, climbing back up, almost tying with the 2 first quarters. ADR is constantly under the baseline, showing we priced ourselves lower than the rest of the teams. There were 2 steady increases in ADR, RevPAR, and occupancy during the second and fourth quarter. Looking at the price-value map in July, where the drop occurred, we can observe a lagging behind compared to competitive hotels in the area. This is because we increased prices while renovations were being made, with hopes to attract more clientele and charge more for the RevPAR. This sadly scared away potential passers-by and went to the competition instead of us. In order to avoid such dramatic falls, revenue management team need to benchmark the competition and take the seasonality into account. This is important to remember that the demand is elastic and therefore price sensitive.
Marketing momentum is an important indicator of the hotel's position among its range of competitors. In the first quarter, when the hotel entered the year with a new positioning strategy, its marketing momentum was overall a 4 across all market segments. Considering that there are 9 hotels in the competitive set, the ranking suggests that its marketing strategy was relatively good. Throughout the second quarter, the marketing momentum remained relatively stable, fluctuating merely between 3 and 4. In the third quarter, it can be observed that the marketing strategy was more effective for weekday transient, discounted, and group segments. As such, marketing efforts should be focused on improving weekend demand. Another trend emerged in the fourth or final quarter, as there were substantial differences in positions across the different segments. The transient weekday segment ranked highest amongst all the other. The revenue mix generated by the transient, discounted, and group segments remained relatively stable throughout the year. Specifically, the transient segment consistently brought the most business, having fluctuated between 36 and 40%. It can thus be inferred that the hotel's marketing strategy was most effective for the transient segment. These results align with the marketing strategy, as we invested most in transient marketing and the exact same amount throughout the year for the other 2 segments. Furthermore, the group segment's contribution increased slightly by only about 2% when a hotel won the bid for the group, whose contract with the hotel lasted from May to August. We propose the following recommendations to the marketing manager. In the first quarter, allocate marketing expenses differently for each distribution channel in order to leverage on the most profitable channels in the following months or quarters. Examine the hotel's marketing momentum more closely during the peak season and adjust marketing expenses accordingly. And finally, enhance the hotel's visibility prior to and during periods of high demand by investing more in the marketing of each segment.
We started the year rather well concerning refurbishments. The reputation of our facilities in the first part of the year did not go under 60%, and although that is not ideal for our type of hotel, we were short on money to do any complete renovations. Regarding services, we started introducing them from January onwards. In the beginning, we were only able to install the most basic ones, such as parking, dry cleaning, and guest room entertainment. Since it was the beginning and we were honestly still trying to find out how to work with all the tabs, the revenues in the first quarter were the smallest ones comparing to all the other quarters. In the second quarter, and since there were a lot of complaints about the services comparing to the competitions and our facilities were not that bad, we decided to invest more on services. It was also during the second quarter that we won the bid for one of the RPFs. Still during the second quarter, we implemented 2 more services, guest room, internet, and foreign exchange. We also have to highlight the fact that June was our most famous month considering services, but also the worst considering new facilities. The third quarter was the one that generated most money comparing to all the other quarters. Our best performing quarter in terms of service revenue, and it was also the second best quarter in terms of facilities reputation. There was an average of 68% of refurbishment level satisfaction when comparing to the other hotels. During the first 2 months of this quarter, the group was still there. This might explain the increased revenue. We also renovated some of our facilities of the hotel, such as the front desk and associate facilities, which we found to be the most crucial areas and definitely needed a change considering the market segment that we were working in. During the fourth quarter, the service revenues dropped drastically, almost a 40,000 difference compared to the third quarter. This might be due to the group having left the hotel or many other factors. Even the most profiting service, guest room entertainment, dropped their revenues by more than $6,000 monthly. For example, and although there was a lot of full renovation of the environmental program, the reputation among the other hotels considering the refurbishment was the lowest one, with an average of just 64%. As the recommendations for the future, we should definitely invest more in services in the beginning and then worry about the facilities when they get worse. But find an equilibrium, because there were also months in which we focused a lot on renovations and soft redos and forgot that those facilities would not be available during the renovation time, and that would definitely bring the outside reputation of our hotel down.
In conclusion, recommendations for next year is to create slightly differentiated prices for the different channels to reach the highest revenue possible, to forecast with regards to fair share value and benchmarks, to keep variance less than 15%, to set up price triggers to determine discounts and prices for each segment, to determine the period when the establishment is ready to accept groups by using the historical occupancy rate as an indicator. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation, and I hope you have a wonderful day.